let's
No,
move
I
on
agree.
though now to Miami, as in Miami that made the playoffs for the first time in I think was it 7 years. I think 2016 was the last time they
No,
made it.
like 11. No, I think you're thinking of the Jets, I think.
Maybe I'm trying to remember. I thought it was 2016 was the last time they made it, but it's been a long time. They've become close the past couple of years. Ever since they drafted Tua, every year had been close. And so, but they finally make it now, and they've made some good moves. And I will say, I've up until this season, I was like a pro Tua guy. Is like I don't think we've seen enough of him. He hasn't had a good offensive line around him. Hasn't had really a good team around him. Also, he's constantly been hurt. But now, though, really after kind of watching him this year, seeing him on some primetime games, I just don't think he's the guy. I think he's seems like he's consistently hurt. Not blaming the concussions on him. Concussions happen, but now he's consistently hurt. But also on top of that, I just don't think he has the arm. With how speedy you want your receivers to be, or how speedy your receivers are with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you need a guy that can throw it 60, 65 yards, and I don't think Tua can do that. He struggles to get the ball. Well, he does struggle to get the ball out quick. He can do that, but they have to do short, specific, intermediate routes like that fits their offense. But then when Tyreek burns a guy deep, your quarterback's got to be able to make that 65-yard throw to the corner because Tyreek Hill is going to just run past anybody. And for me, I wonder what they're going to be doing this offseason because there's going to be some veteran quarterbacks who I think could fit into that system really well. And they're not really like the super runny guys. Like, go look at Derek Carr. I mean, he's mobile, yes, but I mean, Tua's more mobile than him. But
I think Brady could go there.
I think Brady could go there as well if he wants to stay in Florida. And so I just don't think Tua is going to be the guy for them. I want to hear your thoughts on that as well.
No, I agree. I mean, it was weird. So I have his QBR right here for the first half versus the second half. So first half of the season, 77, 90, 81, 44, 45, 93, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it was 79, 94, 82, 18, 28, 53, 25. And it's just like, what were they doing different in the second half of the season to where he just wasn't doing nearly as well? And the only thing I can think of is that they were running the same offensive scheme and defenses just adjusted. And because of Tua's limitations, they couldn't run anything else.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, too, is look at their schedule. I think their schedule was significantly easier in the first half of the season.
Actually, where it was easiest was kind of in the middle. They played Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, Houston, all in a row.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually about
Tua played.
Well, and that's about the time as well when I think they were the number one overall seed, or they were at least winning the AFC East.
Yeah.
And then as they got
8-1.
Yeah.
And then they were 8-5 this year with Tua losing the last 4 games that he played. Yeah. So
it's for me, and it's tough saying, but I think Tua, he has gotten better, yes, especially from his rookie year. But I almost think he limits that offense. And there's other things that Miami needs to address as well. Like for me, I'm a big guy in the trenches. They still need to improve the offensive line tremendously. They have made strides, yes, but for that offense to be super effective, you do have to have a running game. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a serious running game. Well, so you need to have a serious running game in general. But they're consistently over the past couple of years at the bottom of the average running yards per game, and so
they're averaging over a sack a game.
Yeah,
like
and that's
well,
one as
well over a sack a game.
Yeah. So and for me, because I like that deep, I like the aggressive style of that defense. I think, as I mentioned already, but with that game specifically with the Bills, they get after the quarterback, Jalen Phillips. I think is going to be turned into one of the better edge rushers in the NFL if he's not already kind of up there in those conversations. So for me, I think they really need to address the offensive line, but they really need to take a good look at quarterback to see if Tua is the guy or if there's someone else that can come in immediately and help them out. Because they have the pieces there, in my opinion.
No, they definitely do. I like what they do on defense. I think that they could definitely improve, especially like the linebacker position, kind of mid-level.
Mm-hmm.
However, I really think this offseason they need to focus on building up that offensive line, because the way that they play defense, they kind of play like a zone blitz heavy scheme. And if they do that and are putting up 30 to 40 points a game, like they were doing in the first half of the season, I think that team wins 12 games next year.
Oh, yeah.
Just because that's when you turn these games into track meets and you have Tyreek Hill, it's hard for teams to keep up.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, it's hard for any team to keep up to Tyreek Hill. But then you have Jalen Waddle, who I think –
exactly, yeah.
I forgot how fast Jalen Waddle was just because, like, Tyreek Hill's running next to him. I'm like, oh, he's keeping pace. Like, Jalen Waddle is, like, ridiculously fast.
Oh, yeah.
But he's the
Jalen
second
Waddle
fastest
was
guy
also a track star. He just wasn't – like, he's not an Olympic-level track athlete like Tyreek Hill was.
Yeah.
And so, for me, that is that is what the Dolphins need to do. Now, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the Dolphins talking about firing Mike McDaniel to make a push for another coach?
I mean, I would say, like, you specifically hired Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel got you to the playoffs with an injury-riddled quarterback room, with Teddy Bridgewater even still not, like, being a healthy backup. And so I think in his first year, it's similar, I think, to the Geno Smith conversation. He did everything that you asked him to do. I think he's going to be one of the next young minds, offensive minds. And I think we've only seen the surface for him and his offensive creativity, because they can't really run the ball. And Tua doesn't have most athletic arm in the NFL. So I think that would be a horrible decision, personally. I think Mike McDaniel is your guy. Next, Don Shula. No, not really. But
no, I agree. I mean, I think that's a stupid mistake to make.
Yeah. I can absolutely, as we talked about before, I can see getting rid of Brandon Staley for Sean Payton. I don't know. I don't know if it would be worth it to get rid of Sean Payton, to get rid of Mike McDaniel for Sean Payton.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So. Especially, like, the dude led you at one point. You were the 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
Like, and then Tua had concussions and whatnot, but you ended up, you limped into the playoffs, but you made the playoffs. And so that, for me, I think is reason enough to at least give him another try at it.
With their expectations. Oh, I mean, I would think several more tries at it. You know, it's I don't think he has done anything egregiously awful. And so it's interesting too that we talk about this, and we just talked about Brandon Staley as well, because it is kind of like I think Mike McDaniel helped improve Miami's chances a lot in a lot of games. Brandon Staley, I think, cost games. It is costing games. So who's to say it is just 1 year?
And there could also be internal things going on that we don't know about. I just think it's an interesting dilemma, because I don't think they should have ever fired Brian Flores. However, that was a thing, and like, I don't know, it just that didn't make sense to me last year.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason why Brian Flores wanted to move on from Tua, and the owners and the GM were like, no, like, we want to keep Tua. So I think that there was some.
I think it was the way he went about handling Tua also that partially got him fired. I think he was open with Tua about his view on him, which I think is a poor way to manage a quarterback who's already being shit on by multiple members of the media and not performing well.
Most near everybody. But We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting, I think, in the upcoming, like just in the upcoming offseason, because Miami doesn't have a first round pick. They forfeited, actually, I think, specifically with those talks with Sean Payton and also Tom Brady as well. So what they do. And just before we switch, just an immediate quick little thought. Mike McDaniel came from San Francisco. San Francisco is going to be dealing a quarterback this offseason because they have 3 starting quarterbacks. So maybe Jimmy G to Miami. I think that might fit in well in that system.
Better than Tua.